Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Scholz. Today we have part 3 of Little Thumb. And we've left Little Thumb and his 6 brothers as they're finding their way through the forest towards a mysterious light, after their parents had abandoned them in that forest for the second time. This time, having no way home, they decide to follow Little Thumb. This is Little Thumb, Part 3. They came at last to the house where this candle was, and not without an abundance of fear, for very often they lost sight of it, which happened every time they came into a bottom. They knocked at the door, and a good woman came and opened it, and she asked them what they would have. Little Thumb told her that they were poor children who had been lost in the forest and desired to lodge there for God's sake. The woman, seeing them so very pretty, began to weep, and said to them, "Alas, poor babies, whither are ye come? Do you know that this house belongs to a cruel ogre who eats up little children?" "Ah, dear madam," answered Little Thumb, who trembled every joint of him as well as his brothers. "What shall we do? To be sure, the wolves of the forest will devour us tonight if you refuse us to lie here, and so we would rather be the gentleman should eat us, and perhaps he may take pity on us, especially if you please to beg him of it." The ogre's wife, who believed she could conceal them from her husband till morning, let them come in, and brought them to warm themselves at a very good fire, for there was a whole sheep upon the spit, roasting for the ogre's supper. As they began to be a little warm, they heard 3 or 4 great raps at the door. This was the ogre who was come home. Upon this, she hid them under the bed and went to open the door. The ogre presently asked if supper was ready and the wine drawn, and then sat himself down to table. The sheep was as yet all raw and bloody, but he liked it the better for that. He sniffed about to the right and left, saying, "I smell fresh meat." "What you smell so," said his wife, "must be the calf which I have just now killed and flayed." "I smell fresh meat, I tell thee once more," replied the ogre, looking crossly at his wife, "and there is something here which I do not understand." As he spoke these words, he got up from the table and went directly to the bed. "Ah, said he. "I see then how thou couldst cheatest me, thou cursed woman. I know not why I do not eat thee up too, but it is well for thee that thou art a tough old carrion. Here is good game, which comes very luckily to entertain 3 ogres of my acquaintance who are to pay me a visit in a day or 2. With that, he dragged them out from under the bed one by one. The poor children fell upon their knees and begged his pardon, but they had to do with one of the most cruel ogres in the world, who, far from having any pity on them, had already devoured them with his eyes, and told his wife that they would be delicate eating when tossed up with a good savory sauce. He then took a great knife, and, coming up to these poor children, whetted it upon a great whetstone which he held in his left hand. He had already taken hold of one of them, when his wife said to him, "What need to do it now? Is it not time enough tomorrow?" "Hold your prating," said the ogre. "They will eat the tenderer." "But you have so much meat already," replied his wife. "You have no occasion. Here are a calf, 2 sheep, and half a hog." "That is true," said the ogre. "Give them their bellyful, that they may not fall away, and put them to bed." The good woman was overjoyed at this, and gave them a good supper, but they were so much afraid they would not eat a bit. As for the ogre, he sat down again to drink, being highly pleased that he had got wherewithal to treat his friends. He drank 12 glasses more than ordinary, which got up into his head, and obliged him to go to bed. And that is part 3 of Little Thumb, and we'll find out in the next episode how this night unfolds. This is Dan Scholz for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Threads and Instagram at Folktale Project, and you can find us wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. As always, thank you so much for listening.